Hey, guys. So, Peace in the Battleground. Kind of an interesting title, I know. But the resounding principle behind it is that, well, it goes back to the whole notion of like why some of us seem to be in certain circumstances that we are. Jesus is said to have gone into the prisons, and I think that's more, I won't say allegorical, but more rather to the extent that there wasn't like this Hollywood notion of these people in like the Hollywood hell, and they're like in a prison cell. But a lot of us, for instance, like see, I'm in the Air Force, so there's this collective belief. There's a collective thought system that permeates, that you can feel it. I may not be on the front lines, but sometimes the greatest battles we face aren't on the front lines, but on the home front. The internal battles within. And you feel it because you're in that culture. Like suicide's like a very prevalent, it's a prevalent thing. And not only that, but there's this depressive tendency that can creep up on you. A lot of people just kind of living out their days in this endless cycle to maybe live a few years and then end up dying, and just doesn't seem to really be getting anywhere. And it's ironic because the military is deemed to be this one of like the best places for self-realization. You're being all that you can be, and yet so many people are just really bummed out. They're just kind of living out their days, man. And it's not like, oh, if you get out of that, then it's going to be so much better. I mean, so many of us, man, are in that battleground. But to that extent, when we are born again, so as it were, when the holy instant permeates through our consciousness, and we make that our self, we are in turn born again, because we were born in the waters and the spirit. By doing both, you may be going into the waters, but you're going into the waters with the spirit, because you're rising out of it, that you may tread upon it and go. And once you have, what happens is that you learn of these things of peace, and you learn of the ways of God. And sometimes like you'll hear these things are really awesome, and you almost feel like, I've had a lot of times where it's like, man, I know all these truths. I know the truth of what's supposed to be, and I have to go back to working. And it's kind of like, oh. It's like kind of like learning that you're like the chosen one, and then you're having to go back to McDonald's. It's kind of like, well, this kind of sucks. You feel like you almost feel guilty, because you're like, man, God has given me this divine truth, and I'm just now going back and just, what am I doing with it? But I realize that in one part of that is that God will send you where you are needed most and where you can be received the best. For me, it would seem as though I can reach people the best as an airman. That's just me. You may be able to reach people working at McDonald's. I don't know. It's to each his own. Each person has their own journey to take, and it's important that we need not compare ourselves with one another. That's the biggest thing. And so it doesn't really matter. The point is, here's the thing. We're in this world. The entire world is the battleground, so to speak, if you want to use such terms as that. So it doesn't matter where you may be, because here's the thing. The problems are vast and countless. They have different names for every little thing of whatever it may be, but it all stems back to fear. So where there may be seen in the manner that I see it, it's still a factor in different ways where you may be, where you're at. So it's not so much that there are some that are better or worse than others, and like, oh, you have to be just a practitioner person, like a priest or something, in order to really appreciate God's love for you. I'm like, listen, a priest can't be everywhere, and sometimes he's not very well received and couldn't connect with people. So when you learn of these truths, the cool thing about it is that it puts things into perspective. You start to realize how all these illusions are just that. They're not, oh, this one's worse than others. No different. Only different in your mind, as Yoda puts it. And that's true. So there's this cool kind of feeling when you come to that understanding that like none of this stuff matters, and you realize your function is simply to just forgive, to be forgiving. Forgiveness is your function, not correction. To wish your brother well, to heal, to comfort, and to bless. When you realize that and you recognize the significance and importance of where you're at, then you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm just here. That's what the ego wants. The ego wants you to believe that you're forever damned because you're just not good enough. If only you were good enough, then you could be there. But I'm like, listen, man. I'm in the jungle, just as you're in the jungle. Like, my jungle is an Air Force base. Your jungle may be an old folks' home, or wherever. I don't know, a bar, a hairdressing salon. It doesn't matter, wherever. Because sometimes, and really in all honesty, those are where they're needed most, because often it's like there's, different strokes for different folks, like different people and different problems. But then you start to realize how much they're all alike, because there may be many different problems, but there's always just that one answer. And all too many times the answer is just forgive. Because here's the thing. The purpose of all this is to show our brother who justifies pain because of their helplessness and weakness that they feel within themselves, because they have to lash out. Because why would you lash out unless you felt threatened? That's the only reason we attack, is because we feel something has threatened us. That's why narcissists, as much as they try to boast, they try to put this front of power, they're actually very scared and very weak, because they are so scared that they have to be so attacking, like bullies, for instance. For us, then, and this is reflective of when Jesus was resurrected, and was able to show that, he was the prime and perfect example to show that what had been done to him was of no effect. And that's a really beautiful thing, man. And that's the cool thing. Let me see if I can find it in my notes here real quick. But what we do is we show him that his suffering is purposeless and wholly without cause. And you show him your healing, he will consent to no more suffering. For his innocence has been established in your sight, and laughter will replace your sighs, because God's Son, remember that he is God's Son. And that's the dynamic of it all. It's like you learn these truths, and then you go back into the battleground, but now you're equipped to really take on these spiritual challenges. They're not spiritual challenges, but challenges of the world. And you've got this awesome dynamic that you can show people, because then you can help them, because they need your help. They need your innocence. Because through that, like with Jesus when he healed the lepers, and he was like, don't make a big show of it, just present yourself clean. From that, people then can see, oh man, look at this guy. I want to be like him. Not that you should just be yourself, but it's in Christian Science on Wednesday nights we have testimony meetings. And I think other churches have kind of testimony meetings. Just the essence of testimony is paramount, whatever your religion or whatever it may be, is that it's not a matter of, hey, look at me, look at all the cool stuff I'm doing, but it's, I think, a way to showcase that through that healing, that you presenting yourself in a healed. And from it, people are able to then use that as an example within their mind. So don't feel like, oh, I'm not seeing it or anything like that. You're there, man, in the thick of it, just like all of us are. So don't give up hope. Go forward. With the surest of conviction, because of the purpose that you're about. And your purpose is to heal. Make that the purpose of the body. For the body is neutral, and you can make it what you want. So give it the purpose of healing through these teachings. So let's do it. Let's rock and roll. Went a little bit over time. Who cares? We're rocking in the love, and we're jamming with the forgiveness. spirituality. Okay. See you, folks. Have a blessed night.